We are one day away from the MLB trade deadline, and of course, the Nationals over the weekend said goodbye to outfielder Jesse Winker. But I'm here to tell you, the Nationals, they actually got a good deal.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11, and as well as our show page at LO_Nationals. For all your latest Nationals news and notes, make sure to check us out over on Twitter. And of course, while you're at it, make sure to search up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcast. Later on in today's show, we'll be discussing the MLB trade deadline, as of course, we've got a few names out there. Dylan Floro, Kyle Finnegan, Lane Thomas. Should the Nationals continue to sell? I'm here to tell you, absolutely sell, sell, sell. I'll explain that in the third segment of today's show, but it is a Monday, and you know what that means. It is a Nat Stock Report Monday. I'll get you the latest individual performances from your Washington Nationals, whose stock is up, whose stock is down. That is in the second segment of today's show. But we start off with discussing the Jesse Winker trade, as of course that made waves over this last weekend. The Nationals said goodbye to one of their veteran guys who has only been around for a few months now, but still Jesse Winker's impact on this team was felt, and I think he'll be felt even more with that New York Mets squad. But we'll discuss that after we tell you guys about today's sponsor over at SupplyHouse.com. And of course, they are the reliable way to get parts fast. Shop for your next plumbing, HVAC, or electrical job and get fast shipping from coast to coast at SupplyHouse.com. Jesse Winker was one of kind of the surprising veterans of this year's Nationals team, you could say. Going into 2024, I wasn't really expecting a huge breakout season from Jesse Winker. But when I was down at West Palm Beach for spring training, one thing that I noticed right off the bat with him, he was not the Jesse Winker of the Seattle Mariners or the Milwaukee Brewers. One thing stood out. He got himself back into shape. So when you get back into shape, there's different ways you can go about this with baseball. If you are a outfielder, you want to be kind of in shape, slimmer. Jesse Winker really hasn't been that body type over the last few seasons. He felt as if that getting back in shape may turn his career around, and that's exactly what happened with the Nationals this season. If you look at his really just overall numbers from that so far, he had a very good tenure here. Batting .257, a .374 OBP, a .419 slug, and a .793 OPS, all while hitting 11 home runs, having 45 RBIs, and 101 total games with the Nationals. Jesse Winker was the unsung hero of the Nationals in 2024. He was the Jeimer Candelario of 2024. That does not go light by any measures, by the way. The fact that Jesse Winker will not be in this offense anymore, you're going to see a big hit, a big one. Missing Jesse Winker over the next couple of months here, you already know that this Nationals offense is not all that great. That's no lost secret with this team. We've known that. We entered this season probably knowing this offense wouldn't be all too special. But now you kind of go into the remaining of the second half here. And as far as we know, this Nationals offense has been struggling. So now you take one of your better offensive pieces away from this, and you're going to struggle a lot more. There were at times in Jesse Winker's tenure here where his OPS was up to like 820, 830. If you look around this Nationals roster, outside of really CJ Abrams, who, by the way, has been slumping since the All-Star break, there aren't that many guys that have an OPS that high. And you may kind of look past the OPS part of it. Sure. There's other stats and other metrics to look at to measure offensive pieces here. But I think that is really the main takeaway, though. That is kind of the main stat that I look at to determine if an offensive guy has been working or not. Has it been clicking? It measures your on-base percentage, your slugging, all the different things in that. So, Jesse Winker, he has been traded, and you may be asking, well, what about the return? Well, the return actually is not all too bad. The Nationals get back a right-handed pitcher, a 24-year-old right-handed pitcher, Tyler Stuart, who was a 6th-round pick back in 2022 out of Southern Miss. And this guy is a very exciting prospect, in my opinion. Going into 2024, last year, across 2 different leagues, in high A and as well as double A, he had a 2.2 ERA in 21 starts, 110 innings pitched over these last 2 seasons. But this is the year where he's kind of had his ups and downs. But over his last 6 starts, he's really kind of starting to cool down because he did have a 5.5 ERA at one point this season. Not all too great. But over his last 10 starts, he has been incredible. But so far, you may be asking, well, did we get the right price? Did we get the right kind of bargain for Jesse Winker? I think the Nationals did just fine. And you may be reading up on prospect rankings and be like, this guy's like a middle tier prospect for the New York Mets who have a decent farm system, but it's nothing special. Is that really the best we could have gotten? Forget the prospect rankings. Forget MLB.com. Forget Baseball America. Tyler Stewart is a very good pitching prospect. I put him in the same category as kind of DJ Hurst from last year. And it might be easy to say that, but still, when you look at the deep numbers of Tyler Stewart and kind of the tools that he possesses right there at his fingertips, you may be thinking to yourself that this guy could be something. And again, it's way too early to tell. He's in double A. But the way that he has been pitching lately, he's 24 years old. You would expect him to be up in triple A maybe as soon as the next few weeks. You're going to have him, hopefully at this point, go down to double A, maybe make a start, see what he does in Harrisburg, and then ship him up to triple A Rochester, in which next year you could be talking about this guy maybe being in the starting rotation. And that is a big question right there, something I just mentioned. Can he be in the starting rotation? I think he can be. And you may be thinking to yourself, well, the way that this Nationals starting staff has actually been in 2024, where does he fit? You have Cade Cavalli returning from injury eventually. You have other guys like Trevor Williams, who may or may not be traded at this point. We don't really know. Mitchell Parker, who has had his ups and downs, but has overall been pretty solid. DJ Hurst, someone who has looked very good in my opinion. Where does Stewart fit in this picture? Well, I think when all the cards kind of fall down, I would not be surprised whatsoever to see him be like a 5-starter for your Nationals team. That may not seem ideal, but for a rental veteran piece for Jesse Winker, a flyer that Mike Rizzo took on a disgruntled vet who was once an all-star, who has then kind of turned his career around here in D.C., to get that back in return, I think we did just fine. And even then, talk about ceiling and floor, because those are kind of the things that I look at. Stewart's ceiling, again, middle of the rotation guy. Nothing special. But his floor, in my opinion, is actually pretty high. I think he could be an impact reliever at worst. This is a very good return for Jesse Winker. Again, could you have gotten better? I don't really think so. I think Mike Rizzo's been working the phones. We all know Jesse Winker was going to be traded at some point this season. The time was just right now, and you needed to make that move. Because as we kind of go on to the season, again, you're going to see some positives, and you'll also see plenty of negatives. Losing Jesse Winker in this offense will have a big impact on this team, without a doubt. But also at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself this question. Are you competing for right now, or are you trying to compete for the future? This was a future move. And the Nationals did very well, in my opinion, with this trade. And now you have to look at other guys like Lane Thomas. You've got to look at guys like Kyle Finnegan, Dylan Floro, Harold Ramirez maybe, Ildemaro Vargas. Who knows what the Nationals will do? Who knows who they will trade? But the one thing that Mike Rizzo has made very clear is that the future is a priority. And that is what it should be, by the way. That is where the Nationals should be facing, north. Look at the future and trade away your veteran pieces. So in the third segment of today's show, again, should the Nats continue to be sellers? I may have already tipped my hand of what you think, but I'll explain that in the third segment of today's show. But next, it's a Nats stock report. Who has been up and who has been down? Let me tell you guys about that because, again, there have been some very solid individual performances, but then there also have not been. So let's get into it. But before we do that, today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Stitch Fix. And guys, you know that instant confidence boost you get from an outfit that makes you look really good? That's what I get with Stitch Fix. With Stitch Fix, you get a stylist who understands your style, size, and budget. They do all the shopping for you. It's the easiest way to update your wardrobe this season. And of course, you can easily upgrade your wardrobe this year with a professional stylist that helps you find new on-trend favorites that will work for you. Some people out there may think their girlfriend is a style specialist, but I can tell you our friends at Stitch Fix, they are the real specialists out there. My stylist always sends just right pieces and the fit is on point. It's like they have styles, especially, I don't know, they do it, but I'm telling you, they do it and they get me just like they will get you. And if you don't love something, just send it back. Shipping, returns, and exchanges are always free with our friends at Stitch Fix. So you may ask, what is Stitch Fix? It's style that makes you feel as good as you look. So get started at stitchfix.com/MLB and get $20 off your first fix. That's stitchfix.com/MLB for $20 off. stitchfix.com/MLB must redeem within 7 days of sign up. Offer does not include kids fixes. And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Next segment, I'm going to tell you why. I'm just going to give you the answer now. The Nationals should continue to sell. Absolutely no doubt in my mind. Continue to sell, sell, sell. I'll explain that and who will they sell in the third segment of today's show, as tomorrow is the Major League Baseball trade deadline at 6 p.m. Eastern time. You will not want to miss it. Fireworks will be happening here in D.C. right here and right now. So we'll add that for you. But now it's time for a Nats stock report. Whose stock has been up and whose stock has been down. A stock up and a million stock ups for this guy, Juan Yepez. Since the All-Star break, in 9 games and 35 at-bats, he's got 2 home runs, 11 RBIs in those 9 games, only 5 strikeouts. He is batting .343, a .342 OBP, a .629 slug, and a .971 OPS on the 2024 season, or on the last 9 games of the 2024 season. Juan Yepez has been the breakout player that may just replace Jesse Winker. And again, the Nationals are going to need a lot more production from guys like Yepez, James Wood. You're going to need a lot because, again, Jesse Winker was kind of the veteran guy in this clubhouse. Juan Yepez will not fit that role. He's not going to be a leader of this clubhouse. But what he can do is replace a much-needed offensive team that is not very good offensively right now, especially getting rid of one of your better, most consistent offensive pieces of 2024 with Jesse Winker. Going into 2024 now, Juan Yepez should get every rep possible over at first base. That's not crazy to think at this point. The way that this guy has been hitting, the way that he is just kind of breaking out right here in front of us, it does mean a lot. The Nationals have noticed it. You have to at this point. There's no just looking beyond this because, again, what Juan Yepez has done so far has opened eyes in the front office, David Martinez's staff. You have to think to yourself, if he continues to hit this way through all the way at the end of 2024, the Nats may have found themselves a first baseman or a DH at the least. He has been killing the baseball. And again, he has been red hot, and he continues to do what he has been doing for the last few weeks here up in the big. So stock up for Juan Yepez. But when there's a stock up, you know there's a stock down. And that's for franchise shortstop C.J. Abrams. Over his last 9 games, again, since the All-Star break, he's got 36 at-bats. He's got a handful of RBIs, 3 RBIs, in fact. He's got 3 walks, 7 strikeouts. He's batting 139, a 205 on-base percentage, a 139 slug, meaning he's only got a handful of singles so far, and a 344 OPS. CJ Abrams, he kind of goes in these weird ways every now and then. CJ Abrams was red hot all the way up into the All-Star break, but ever since not really having that break, he has not been the same. So now you expect with CJ Abrams that hopefully he does a little bit better. But at this point in time, it's kind of hard to really judge what CJ can and can't do. He didn't really have that All-Star break. Maybe you look at it as a break, I guess, because he only played in 1 game, only got 1 at bat, and got struck out real quick and kind of got humbled there as a 23-year-old down in Texas. But still, CJ has not been himself. He has not been taking a good approach whatsoever at the plate. So you have to think to yourself, can CJ kind of get out of this all-star slump? Well, I think he will just fine. But with a stock up, we now bring, or a stock down rather. But now we get to a stock up with Harold Ramirez. Really, over his last 17 at-bats, he has been just on fire. And again, this is a very small sample size, but when someone's like Harold Ramirez, you're not really expecting all too much. But this guy has had a tremendous impact on this offense. Again, over his last 17 at-bats, he's batting .471, a 500 OBP, a 706 slug, and a 1206 OPS. He's got a home run and 7 RBIs as well. Harold Ramirez, since coming over from Tampa Bay, he has been one of those guys where overall his season statistics haven't been good. But if you look kind of deeper into it, he has made a pretty decent impact on this team. And you're starting to see him kind of inch a little closer to that red hot territory. Now, again, he's not going to be getting opportunities, and I'm not expecting the Nationals to give him a ton of opportunities. There are a lot of key guys you want to see out there in many different ways, but Harold Ramirez, again, this is a stock report. His stock has been up recently. I could go with other guys around the time, whether it's Jacob Young maybe, or Lane Thomas, whoever it is, but Harold Ramirez has been very good with a short amount of opportunities right in front of him, but he has been taking advantage of all of it so far. Again, over his last 17 at-bats, having a 1206 OPS and a 500 OBP, a home run, and 7 RBIs as well in those 17 at-bats. So shout out to Harold Ramirez. He's been pretty damn good so far. So stock up and a stock down. I can tell you this, stock down for Trey Lipscomb. You may know Trey Lipscomb as Nationals third baseman or Anna Hyde's boyfriend from TikTok. If you know, you know. Over his last 7 games, he is batting 120, a 214 OBP, a 160 slug, and a 374 OPS. Again, 3 of his last 25 at-bats. It's just hasn't really been all too great. He only has 3 hits. Again, 3 hits in his last 25 at-bats. Here's the thing with Trey Lipscomb. He is a stud defensively. There is no doubt in my mind about that. But one thing is for sure. He is not ready offensively. He's not. And it's something that is so frustrating because we saw it in spring training. You saw him actually perform well and do things that you were like, maybe this guy makes the opening day roster as you're starting third baseman on opening day. Well, he started game 2 and he had a very good debut, and everyone was kind of thinking, like, this guy might really be legit. And he still might be. But I think what we were all expecting from him, being that utility guy for this organization, I think that's really what's in play right now. That's what he looks like to me, and that's fine. You're a third-round pick out of Tennessee just a few years ago. You're still a solid defensive guy. You still have a positive WAR so far, according to Baseball Reference. So Trey Lipscomb, he's not on the hot seat. He's going to be your starting third baseman, at least you'd think, unless the Nationals make some crazy moves over the next 24 hours or so. But he'll be your starting third baseman, and that'll be that. So stock down for him, but now that means a stock up, and this could be the last time we ever give a stock up to this guy, Lane Thomas. It's a nice time to get hot right before the trade deadline. Over his last 9 games, he's batting .267, a .436 OBP, a .433 slug, and an .869 OPS. He's got 8 walks, 6 strikeouts, only 2 RBIs in that time frame as well. But Lane Thomas is getting hot right at the right time. His season numbers are looking a lot better than what they were just a handful of weeks ago. So it's good to see the Lane train getting back on track because, again, the Nats, they could be looking to sell old Lane Thomas. You may ask yourself, why would they trade Lane Thomas? Why is that right now? Why can't you wait down the line? Well, I'm going to tell you why the Nationals should probably trade Lane Thomas. And in my opinion, why I think like they will. I truly do think that. Let me tell you guys about that. But before it, I'm going to tell you guys about our friends over at SupplyHouse. And guys, get supplies from the site that's made from the skilled trades, SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is a reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at SupplyHouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks. That's SupplyHouse.com. Thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day. As we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And now we are just around, 34 hours away from the Major League Baseball trade deadline. And I can tell you this, the Nationals are not done making moves just yet. So earlier on, about last week, you saw the Nationals move on from Hunter Harvey, and which was the absolute right thing to do at that point in time. You got back Caden Wallace, and you got back pick number 39 in this year's draft. Very good. That is now Caleb Lomavita, the catcher from California. So the Nationals, you've got some impact guys already in your farm system just from that trade. And then this last weekend, you saw the Nationals trade Jesse Winker. You get back Tyler Stuart, another arm in this. Really is starting to stockpile a ton of pitching arms. And this is what you need if you're going to be making a postseason push, by the way, down the road in just a few years. So the Nationals are doing the right thing at this point. But are they done? In my opinion, if I was GM, put my GM hat on real quick, absolutely not. The Nationals have to continue to sell. No doubt in my mind. You have to continue to go out there and think for the future. I like Lane Thomas, but I think the proof is in the pudding with him. Lane Thomas is a platoon guy. He is not really an everyday player. Now, has he been good for this team? Yes, of course. But he has been a shining star in a dying universe at this point. The Nationals have not been a good team for quite some time, since 2019 when they won the World Series. So Lane Thomas, since coming over in 2021, he's been good, but he's definitely replaceable. And again, some people may kind of overlook this. I certainly don't. I want to see James Wood in right field. That is where he belongs. That is where he will be every single day. If I'm Mike Rizzo, I'm thinking if I want James Wood to develop into that number one prospect that we all thought we were getting, then you're going to want to make him comfortable. Put him in right field. And you're not going to move Lane Thomas from right field at this point in time. As far as baseball sense goes, even though this team is not really tanking, but you're selling off for the future. Your eyes are not on 2024. It's on 2025 and beyond. So that's what you kind of have to think of right here. They'll never tell you that, obviously, but still, you still have to go out there every single day and try to win. You're not going to move Lane Thomas out from right field just to get James Wood in there. Lane Thomas is probably the better right fielder at this point in time. But going forward now, think for the future. Get guys in the building who may help you on the next postseason team. by trading away Lane Thomas, who has been kind of a hot name, in my opinion. That's what makes the most sense for this team. That's what they should be doing. And Lane Thomas is not the only controversial name that is at this MLB trade deadline here. It's also Kyle Finnegan, your Nats closer, your all-star closer, in fact. Mason Miller, who is the hot kind of closer name on the market right now, was just placed on the injured list with a broken pinky on his left hand. I don't know if that's going to determine if the A's will sell him or not, but if he is off the market, which I haven't really seen all that much trade buzz about him at this point, that means the next best closer in line is Kyle Finnegan. The Nationals should take advantage of every opportunity they have to trade Kyle Finnegan. You wait until 5:59 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow to get the best possible offer, and that is when you make the move to trade Kyle Finnegan. That is what the Nationals should be doing. You should be having your eyes on the future because, again, if you've seen with what the relievers have been going for so far this deadline, it makes all the sense in the world to trade him. Did you see what the Orioles just got and what they gave up with the Phillies? Have you seen what the Angels just got in return for one of their closers, for what the Phillies just got and what they gave up? They give up two of their best arms in their system for a closer. Kyle Finnegan is a better option than that. If you're watching around Major League Baseball right now, there is no hotter commodity at this point in time, at this deadline, than a closer or than a reliever. I'm not 100% sold that Kyle Finnegan will be a closer for the next postseason team, but if I'm the Nationals, I'm shopping him and never looking back at this point in time. And even then, if you look at it, you're going to sell Dylan Floro. I think we know that. You're going to get something back decently in return for him. But the more important two guys, in my opinion, that I have my eyes set on that the Nationals should absolutely sell for the best price no matter what is Kyle Finnegan and Lane Thomas. You may think it sucks in the moment, but in 2-3 years from now, you will be thanking Mike Rizzo and the Nationals front office. Thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Nationals do head out west to play the Arizona Diamondbacks, but no time to preview that. It's MLB trade deadline season. What will the Nationals do? We'll have to see. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.